Okay, this video is on a method of factoring known as Lizzie's method. It has a lot of steps, but it's super easy to automate and requires very little mental math. This is also known as bottoms up, and I'm sure you can find other names if you search on the internet. We're going to use this to factor quadratics, ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 1. It also works for a equal to 1, but those problems are usually easier finished using the simple product sum method. Okay, lots of steps. I warned you. Step 1. Multiply a and c together. Step 2. Find factors of a and c, of ac, excuse me, which add up to b. B is the coefficient of the middle term. Notice this sounds just like product sum. The only difference is our product is AC instead of just the constant term. Step 3. Once you find those factors, divide them both by the leading coefficient A. Divide both factors by A. Step 4. Reduce the fractions. When you divide the factors by A, you end up with 2 fractions, and they have to be fully reduced for this process to work. It is kind of magical. It's actually based on an old theorem known as Vietta's theorem. Step 5. I'm simply going to call this bottoms up because it's very hard to describe in words. So we're going to use bottoms up to create 2 binomial factors. And then you're finished. Now when I do an actual example, I'm going to expand on steps 2 and 5 because it is difficult to describe exactly what we're going to do here. Okay. Our first example will be the quadratic 2x squared plus 9x plus 9. Recall that a, b, and c are the leading coefficient, the middle coefficient, and the constant term, respectively. In this problem, AC, the product of A and C, is equal to 2 times 9, which is 18, and of course B is the middle coefficient, which is equal to 9. We're going to make a little table here with the product in the first column and the sum in the second column. Remember, we're looking for factors of 18 that add up to 9. Now here's where we're going to automate step 2 a little bit. If you can do this faster, go for it. We're always going to start by dividing the AC number by -1. You can use a calculator for support on this. When you divide 18 by -1, you get -18. Now we're going to take -1 and -18 We're going to add them together. Again, you can use the calculator, and you'll see that you don't get positive 9. So these are not the right factors. So negative 1 didn't work. So what we're going to do now is we're going to divide 18 by negative 2. 18 divided by negative 2 is negative 9. Negative 2 plus negative 9 is negative 11, which is not 9, so that is wrong. Now we're going to divide 18 by negative 3. 18 divided by negative 3 is negative 6. We're going to add negative 3 and negative 6, and we're going to see that we get negative 9, which isn't positive 9, but it's super close, as we've seen in our other lessons. So all we need to do is change the signs. So we're going to change negative 3 to positive 3. Let's use green. And we're going to change negative 6 to positive 6. Then we're going to verify that 3 plus 6 is positive 9, and we found the two factors we needed. So I'm going to write those two factors over here, and I'm going to put a little bit of space between them. The next step is very strange, but it is part of the magic. You take both of these factors and you divide them by the leading coefficient a. So I'm taking this number here and I'm putting it underneath the two factors I found in my chart. Now I reduce those two fractions. 3 over 2 does not reduce. 6 over 2 does reduce. It reduces to 3. And because we need a bottom, we're going to go ahead and put 3 over 1. If you don't remember how to reduce fractions, you can type them in the calculator and hit math, enter, enter, and it will reduce the fractions for you. One last step, the bottoms up step. You take the denominator 2, attach it to an x, and then put the numerator positive 3 beside it. The other factor, you take the denominator 1, attach an x to it, and put the numerator positive 3 beside it, and you're finished. Now we are going to check, because anytime you learn a new skill, you want to be super careful to check your answers. 2x times 1x is 2x squared. 2x times 3 is positive 6x. 3 times 1x is positive 3x. And 3 times 3 is positive 9. We combine like terms in the middle and we get 2x squared plus 9x plus 9, which is exactly where we started. So our solution, our factored solution, is 2x plus 3 times x plus 3. Next example. 5x squared plus 3x minus 2. AC in this case is 5 times negative 2, watch your signs, which is negative 10, and of course B is 3 because it's the coefficient on the middle term. We're going to make our table with negative 10 in the first column and 3 in the second column. Just like before, we're going to start dividing with negative 1. 10 divided by negative 1 is positive 10. Negative 1 plus 10 is 9, which is not 3, so that's wrong. So now we move on to negative 2. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5. Negative 2 plus 5 happens to be 3, which is what we were looking for. So we found our factors. I'm going to write them over here with a little space between them. Now we divide both of those numbers by the leading coefficient 5. So I'm taking this number and I'm putting it underneath my two factors. Then I use my calculator if necessary to reduce the fractions. -2/5 does not reduce. 5/5 reduces to 1, but we need a bottom, so we're going to put 1/1. Last step, bottoms up. 5 comes up, gets an x, -2 goes beside it. 1 comes up, gets an x, +1 goes beside it. Notice the 5 came from the denominator. The -2 came from the numerator. The 1 came from the denominator, and the +1 came from the numerator. Now we're going to check our answer. 5x times 1x is 5x squared. 5x times 1 is +5x. -2 times 1x is -2x, and -2 times 1 is -2. Combine like terms, and you get 5x squared plus 3x minus 2, which is exactly where we started. Please remember, the answer is the factored form of the quadratic. All right, next example. 2x squared plus 19x minus 10. AC here is 2 times -10. Remember, this is A and this is C. 2 times -10 is -20. B is 19. So we have -20 in our first column, 19 in our second column. And we're going to start by dividing by -1. -20 divided by -1 is +20. When I add -1 and 20, I get positive, oh my gosh, +19, and look at that, we found them right away. So the two numbers we need are -1 and +20. Now, remember, we take the leading coefficient, which is 2, and we create fractions by putting 2's underneath our two numbers. We reduce our fractions. -1/2 does not reduce. 20 divided by 2 is +10. Put a 1 under that 10 because we need a fraction. And now we bottoms up. The bottom is 2. Give it an x, put -1 beside it. The bottom is 1, give it an x, put the +10 beside it, and it's factored. We're going to check our answer by foiling, and I don't know why that happens, nor do I know how to get rid of it. Okay, there we go. Let's try that again. We're going to check our answer. So we're going to multiply 2x by 1x, and that's 2x squared. 2x times 10 is +20x. -1 times 1x is -1x. And -1 times 10 is -10. Combine like terms, and you get 2x squared plus 19x minus 10, and it checks out. Remember, the answer is the factored form. Next example. (8x squared) oopsie 8x squared minus 21x minus 9. AC here is rather large. 8 times -9 is -72. The B value is -21. So we're going to create our table with AC in the first column and B in the second column. and we're going to start our division process. Negative 72 divided by negative 1 is positive 72. Negative 1 plus 72 is 71, which is not negative 21, so that's wrong. So now we're going to increase to negative 2. Negative 72 divided by negative 2 is positive 36. Negative 2 plus 36 is 34. Also wrong. Now we're going to divide by negative 3. Negative 72 divided by negative 3 is positive 24. Negative 3 plus 24 is positive 21. Now we're looking for negative 21, but we are close. And what does it mean when this happens? It means we need to change our signs. Change signs. Okay, so we're going to use positive 3 and negative 24. And just to be extra super careful, you might want to verify that that gives you negative 21. It does. So you have your two factors. So I'm going to write them up here, 3 and negative 24. 3 and negative 24, and now I'm going to divide both of those numbers by the 8. We're going to reduce fractions. 3/8 does not reduce. Negative 24 over 8 reduces to negative 3. We're going to put it over 1 to make it a fraction. And now we're going to bottoms up. The bottom is 8x, the top is positive 3. The bottom is 1x, the top is negative 3. And now we're going to check our answer by foiling. 8x times x is 8x squared. 8x times negative 3 is negative 24x. 3 times x is positive 3x. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. We have like terms. When we combine them, we get 8x squared minus 21x minus 9, and that's what we started with. Remember, the solution is the factored form. And that's the video on Lizzie's method. It's a lot of steps, but if you follow the process, you're going to find the right factorization every time. Also, if you can find the factors of AC that add up to B without using the chart and the dividing on the calculator, please go ahead and do that. The faster you can factor accurately, the better. Thank you for watching.